Good early afternoon to you. It is Thursday, April 3rd at 12:35, lunch hour. Hope you're doing well. I wanted to wait, so I waited to react to the first news of the three guys entering the portal until there was some good news, just because I didn't want to harp on the negative. And this time I wanted to wait again until there was some good news. And I don't know if there's any good news coming. I don't know if Purdue will sign more guys out of the portal, but I'll talk about that here in a second. But Cam Heidi, of course, entered the portal yesterday morning. Give you some of my reaction to that. Some of my reaction to some of the maybe the roster issues that arise ahead. Some of the, I don't know if I'm going to give you all the gut response that I had yesterday. I don't think in fact, I know I won't do that. But before I do it, thanks to our sponsors. Thank you to Home Field Apparel. Head over to homefieldapparel.com, enter Boiled25 at checkout. Get 15% off your first order. And of course, when you're at Mackey Arena and you've just watched your Boilers dominate yet again, like they do all the time at home, almost every time at home, you may skip right towards the fire station gleefully. And when you get to the fire station, turn hard left. You'll see the blue lights run inside. The lights will be glowing that warm amber color. There'll be televisions on the wall. There's basketball all around you and friends as well. That's AJ's, of course. EatAJ's.com, burgers, beef, beer, and maybe some pints, with boiled sports magnets at the bottom. Head over to AJ's, though, when you're on campus. All right, so, the Cam Heidi news, I think my straw poll of people that are close to me, it struck people differently, I think, than the first three. I think everybody saw that Waddell Berg and Colvin might enter the portal for different reasons. But I think, especially with Colvin's announcement, I think we all got maybe comfortable or used to the idea that barring something big, there weren't going to be any more entries to the portal. It's a weird year for Purdue basketball, if we're being real frank, right? Because Purdue was able to avoid the current state of college basketball to a great extent. They kept showing the graphics of the guys that in the Sweet 16 that started their career at a program and had gone all the way through, and Purdue was absolutely full of them. There's no transfers on the roster this year. Now, all of a sudden, the hand gets forced. Like I said the other day, Matt Painter's preference clearly is to recruit guys, grow them up, develop a program, develop a culture, get guys to mature in the program. And by the time they're ready to go, they understand what Purdue basketball is about. Now the hand is being forced that he has to go to the portal out of necessity. Right now, Purdue's got 10 scholarship players on the roster. If you include Clough, who's coming in, we talked about the other day, Benter, who's on coming off redshirt, and West from Ohio, Antoine West. That leaves Purdue at -5. So the question is, how many walk-ons will fill those spots? Like I said, those walk-ons, whether they're scholarship or not, go towards the count, the 15-person count on the roster. I believe Purdue will sign one or two more, and we'll see. There's lots of rumors going around there. I'm not really going to talk about rumors. To me, rumors are like they're just prevalent. They're everywhere right now about what's happening in the portal. They're kind of like the NIL in itself, in that there's just nothing concrete out there. You don't really know what's true. You don't know a lot of stuff. And this is one of the reasons that college basketball needs to transfer. College basketball, college football needs to find structure. There needs to be changed in the rules. It doesn't matter what the situation. Need to have contracts that are out in the open. Need to have transfer fees. That'd be a big thing that would maybe slow things, and maybe get back to the one transfer rule without cost. I think that would stop the hemorrhaging. Still, what does Purdue do next? I think all the rumors that I'm hearing is they're going to go after an athletic wing. They have to now. But before we talked about that, before there is actual tangible proof of what's coming next, one thing I wanted to look at was the Cam Heidi situation. Number one, maybe the reason this struck people so hard was his speech about the brotherhood and family in the locker room, impassioned, genuine speech about what he thought of his teammates. And then 5 days later, entering the portal. I think those two things, comparing and contrasting, are really tough to swallow for a lot of people. Second thing, I think he was just a likable guy. I don't know why he was such a fan favorite. I do know why people in my family liked him, but most of you aren't judging him based on him being handsome. Yeah, my wife and daughter were upset. They were like, that's their dude. So, but he's moved on now, and they're going to have to find another favorite for them to really want to draw them to going to the games. The other thing that I am struck by, of course, on Twitter, tons of experts. Everybody knows exactly why he left. Some of you say it's because the Painter system wasn't advantageous enough for him. Others say it, of course, is money. It's absolutely money. Some combination of those two. But whenever anybody would answer the question of why it happened, they were vehement of it. They absolutely knew, and anybody who disagreed was wrong. There's the fact. You don't know. We don't know. What we do know are the facts in front of us, that a guy that played 12 and a half minutes as a freshman and 19.7 minutes as a redshirt sophomore has left. 19.7 minutes is a pretty big number. And next year, without Colvin there, you would think those numbers would go up. I know there are a lot of people, a lot of experts, again, have told me that though those minutes are going to vaporize with Clough joining the roster. I don't know when this happened, but it's happened recently, in that people believe that basketball players do not want to compete at all for their playing time. And they may be right, but that is such a change. That's such a shift in culture, in the competitive nature of scholarship athletes. I'm shocked at it, actually, because the most competitive people I know, the most competitive people I've ever met, played Division I sports, either basketball or football. And so now many players, we saw it a year ago with a guy who left his commitment, want assurances. They want assurances. Not only do they want money, but they want assurances of playing time. I don't know what the case is with Cam Heidi, but I do know 19.7 minutes of playing time is pretty significant, especially for Matt Painter and a Matt Painter system. And for comparison's sake, Travion Williams averaged 20.1 minutes a game his senior year at Purdue. Travion Williams has had a pretty good pro career in mostly overseas, but he was an all Big Ten player. He was nearly an All-American, and he played 20 minutes. Cam Heidi would have played probably 24 to 26 minutes next year in Painter's system, I believe. That's a pretty significant amount of minutes. But not being featured, not being the right system, whatever the case was, Cam moves on. Again, it's not a fun thing. Some people out there say, Matt Painter figured out the portal before signing Clough, and everyone should be afraid. And the portal is your friend. The portal's not your friend. And I'll tell you why the portal's not your friend: because of its unpredictability. I think anybody who runs a business knows the most friendly things you can have is understanding what's going to come next and being able to plan for it, being able to plan around it. But the portal is a grenade. It gets rolled in all the time. We saw it with on the football side, and it hit us hard. I think that first time when the jolt 2 years ago, when Scorton left the program, I think that was the one that it got everybody's attention. Before that, if you look back to players opting out, leaving a little bit early, going pro earlier than we thought, part of that was because Purdue was just recruiting higher level players when Braum was there. But each time one of these new things, this new era comes along, it's tough for the fans to recover for it. One big overarching thing that I've had during all these periods of time, and a friend of mine vocalized this better than me, was, and I said the relatability of players is the one thing that takes the huge hit when you don't have guys there for a long time. So For instance, if you have to plug in, right, and you get to know a guy over a year, like Purdue did with Lance Jones. Purdue found out, well, Lance Jones is a pretty good cultural fit. Everybody likes Lance Jones. He loves Purdue. The team gathered around him in a very hard time. And there was a lot of bonding that happened there. And also, I think, if I remember correctly, Lance Jones went on the trip to Europe. I believe that's right. Oh, yes, he did. He did. Because, yeah, there were guys were moving around. And that type of bonding, the players get to know each other, and then you get to see what this guy's about, or you get to learn a lot about him in a year. Over the years, though, over 2, 3, 4 years of having a player around, 5 in some cases, fans start really relating with these players. And I think that really, really matters. And the other thing is the connection of college sports. So your alma mater, most of the people that are really, really invested in college sports are invested because they love the place they went to school. And so, like I said months ago, thinking, even if it's not accurate, that these people are students at the school you went to, that stuff matters, right? So if you care about that, and if you're like me and you get too into that, and you look too positively at that, and I will admit that I do that at times. So my expectations get high and I get dashed, and it's like getting punched in the gut or kicked in the balls, whatever you want to call it. But when they make the decision, regardless of the player, makes the decision just to turn their back on your alma mater, it offends you, it bothers you, because you thought at some level they made the decision because they really wanted to be there and they really liked the school, they really liked the culture, whatever. And then all of a sudden they pull the plug and they're gone. And so I know some people are like all happy, joy on Twitter about every time somebody announces they're in the portal. I'm not that guy. I'll just be real frank. And maybe I'm the only person willing to admit that. And I'm the bad guy, I guess, on this. But I don't wish every single person in the world, I don't go and just wish, hope you do well, hope you do well. I don't know anything about you. I don't know what your next steps are. But when I get to know somebody, when I do start relating with them and we have a commonality, it's easy for me to say, man, I want to see that guy do well. And this team this year was really likable. Man, I want to see these people do well. And it felt like they bought into the system. So that lack of relatability is the thing that will eventually crush college sports under its own weight if changes aren't made really, really soon. Could be an age thing. People over 40 tend to see eye to eye with me on this, and people that are younger, they're okay with it as it is. But I can tell you that's a big chunk of consumers that are just going to say, I don't want to do this anymore. And I can tell you a specific scenario that could happen to Purdue is one that a lot of Purdue fans I've talked to have said, yeah, that'll be it with me. If that happens, I think I'm done. I don't think I can handle that scenario. I don't think I'll care anymore, because that'll show a complete breakdown of everything I thought was happening behind the scenes. None of it's true. I'm speaking a little bit vague there. Hopefully I don't have to dig into it more. Maybe you understand what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to dig into it anymore right now. A lot of people on here, I do appreciate you guys tuning in live. Middle of the day, maybe you're enjoying your lunch. Jim Garfinkel says, morning from the left coast. So Jim, you are on the same time zone as much of my work right now. My clients, the limited work that I've got right now is coming from California. So good morning to you as well. Marshall Briggs says, good to see you, Boiler Dad. Hello from Florida Panhandle. I love it. We go from California to the Florida Panhandle right away. And then we go right in the middle to Greg McManus. Hello. Good to see you, sir. Need to be inversed. Andrew says, afternoon, sir. Glad to see you. Okabu 13 checks in. Ted Berkey, good afternoon. Kevin in Albuquerque, we're all over the nation right now. Good morning, B Dowd. Good morning to you as well. Andy Day says, morning, afternoon. Hope the storms were okay for y'all. Yeah. So Andy, last night the storms ripped through my area, and it felt like I was like, okay, we might get one here. And I generally don't overreact to weather stuff, but of course my mom called me 3 times to make sure that her granddaughter was in a safe place. I don't know if she cared too much about me, but she wanted to make sure her granddaughter was in a safe place. But that storm came pretty close, within a mile or two of our house. And we're fine. Limbs and stuff blew down. But one thing I thought about, the parallel, and I was going to lead off with this and I didn't. I even wrote it in my notes. As the storms ripped through, you're gripping. And so I thought, okay, the storms of the portal entries have ripped through Purdue. Now it's officially, Purdue is part of the college basketball portal world. And before this, it was all positive. Purdue would go get guys and it'd be like, okay, hey man, it's great to plug in for a need and get a really good dude that Painter trusts and the players like. The interview process is quick. For the portal now, the guys do not have much time to decide, do not have much time to court because everything's moving so fast. You saw with Clough, it was going to be Purdue, Iowa State decision. Bang, bang, bang. And so things are moving fast. You'll see guys in the portal and they're gone right away. Probably when a guy enters the portal and he announces like an hour later, I'm always like, the antenna are up and that's tampering. He knew what was going on as a done deal. But yeah, the Storms, we came away unscathed. And I think most people did as bad as it was. It was pretty rough for a little while here in Central Indiana. IC says losing Heidi and Colvin stings. It does. There's no doubt. And I think the weird thing to me is the revisionist history that happens on Twitter. People saying, number one, they saw it coming. I didn't see it coming, especially after Colvin left. I didn't see it coming. I thought Colvin might leave just for different reasons, but I didn't think Heidi would leave after the Colvin announcement. But a lot of people, even though these people didn't step up and say, yeah, I think Purdue's going to lose him too. The expertise of the Purdue fan on Twitter is incredible and astounding. So many insiders out there. Just got to listen to all of them. They'll tell you exactly. They know everything. Joe Inslee says, optimistic me thinks Benter might be playing well in practice. Don't want to think those pessimistic thoughts. Benter has impressed people. I'm excited to see him plugged in. I think he's going to be a really good addition. The one thing that I think you can easily be bothered by, no offense to Benter, no offense to anybody else, Fletch Lawyer, is Purdue's athleticism quotient went down a bit in the last couple of days. Losing Colvin and Heidi, losing those eye-popping athletes, the guys that get your attention when you watch the game, who play above the rim. Purdue losing those, that I think that gets everybody's attention. And I think Braden Smith's an excellent athlete. I think he's an underappreciated athlete. Of course, CJ Cox is quick. Jakari Harris is sneaky. But and I always said Caleb First was a good athlete, but he graduated. But all these guys are good athletes. But guys that are good athletes among good athletes, it's pretty hard to find. Purdue lost a couple. Pat Pence says, did you see Albert Evans' tweet regarding Colvin? Basically, Colvin game isn't for a post-first offense. Okay. I did not see Albert Evans' tweet. No. He says, Colvin's game isn't for a post-first offense. Okay, that's fine. Nothing's changed. Meaning, when he was recruited, Purdue was even more post-heavy. Couldn't you argue that? So they came in with the idea. I guess people do this too, though. Many people go into I always try to relate with just the human side of things. Okay, so you came into a system that didn't quite agree with your strengths. That's okay, especially when you're younger. You're just happy to be there, be in the system. Especially Colvin, he's a legacy, and you get in there, and I guess you think you're going to be so good that you'll change the system. Okay. But the system doesn't change, or it doesn't change quick enough, doesn't change enough to feature you. You got to head out. Okay. Whatever. It's tough to change an entire corporation by just being a whatever. Plug in your position there, right? The people that really change a corporate culture, what makes a place tick, really are the CEOs, the presidents, that sort of thing. It's tough for a grunt worker on the ground to do it. Greg Mann says, I think Cam sees a new coach at Mini and heads back home. Could be. Cam, I believe, was born in Indiana, right? Born in Indiana, moved to Minnesota young. His dad was a Purdue alum. So, I don't know. I don't know. Boiler Bugle says, I guess I just don't see Heidi as a 4. Seemed more like a wing to me. I completely agree with that. I know he played a lot of 4. I think he was more successful at the 3. I know he's not an ideal 3. And this is kind of the problem. If we're being real honest, I tiptoed around this issue all year. Colvin and Heidi did not develop at the rate we thought we did. I just watched a video about the Final Four last year. Everybody thought rocket fuel. Colvin and Heidi are coming. You could see them in the NCAA tournament, how important they were last year. And then you thought they're going to plug in this year and they're going to take that big next step. The difference between a freshman and a sophomore sometimes is massive. Was they freshman, sophomore? I think that's right. Yeah, freshman, sophomore would be massive. And it didn't happen. So I'm sure they're a bit disappointed with that. They were given opportunities, but again, nothing's perfect. Nothing's perfect. And surely Purdue's system wasn't perfect for them. If it was, they would have been All-Americans, I'm sure. South Haven Boiler says, I'm more worried about what losing Colvin and Heidi does to us 2 years from now. I agree. And Paint's got his work cut out for him. If you watch Paint's, his trends as a recruiter is he does this. He'll have a really strong class. And then almost like the headwinds are so tough when he goes out and he meets with people that he doesn't go after many people. He'll go after one or two that next class, but he does this. He'll drop off and then I'll have a huge class and he'll drop off. So, but he's got his work cut out for him, especially with the larger roster. There's some work to be done, no doubt. Tim Eaton, says, oh, there's a good point up here. This thing's jumping around on me. I apologize. Ted Berge said, would Cam want to go so far back to a lower program and not compete and win at Minnesota? Doesn't make sense to me. You can't get, here's the thing. Everybody asks me questions because I talk about my opinion and interact with you guys, but they'll say, what do you think about this? I cannot try to get in the head of a recruit, of a player that transfers. I just can't tell you. I don't know these people well enough. And I don't, bigger than that, I keep saying this and I will keep beating this drum. The surrounding council matters so much. And you have to know a lot of moving parts to really understand what's going on with a kid. Got to understand who their uncle is that they love but is nuts. You got to understand what their mom thinks about them being far from home or close to home. Got to understand what dad thinks about what their next step is. My dad wanted me to be a chemical engineer, for instance, and he didn't take into account that I'm a bad math student, right? So dads sometimes have high expectations. Their friends are involved. The girlfriend matters. There's so many moving parts here. So when a kid makes this decision to come to a place, to leave a place, there's a lot there. Very few of them are straight up analytical, telling you this is the best value proposition, either monetarily or just for me as my career, my degree, whatever. It's not that clean and easy, sadly. So you want to have a kid that feels like he's at home, right? That's the big thing. Feeling like you're at home is a big deal. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe being far from Minnesota was a big deal. I don't know the answer. I really don't. And when there are articles that trickle out, I'd love to read about them, about what the reason is. Joe Inslee says Catchings and Pack want to come home. Yeah, I've read that. That's not on the table. Let's see. Greg Manis says, depends on what Kim wants, Ted. He was on a winning roster, but if he wants to be featured, yeah, a lot of times just being featured is a big deal. And then the question comes, do you want to be a big fish in a small pond, small fish in a big pond? A lot of times that comes down to your personality, your preference. Do you want to be surrounded by super athletes? Do you want to be surrounded by a great system? Do you want to be the featured dude? Do you want to be easily accessible to your family? I don't know. These are all good questions, but just ask the guys on Twitter. I mean, everybody, they'll tell you there's experts there. Pat Pence says, I think when Oscar committed, that forced Cam's hand. I don't know. I don't know what Paint's, this is another thing. We don't know. We haven't heard yet. I think Painter will talk about this eventually, what that last meeting was like for he and Colvin and he and Cam. More than he and Berg. I think with Berg, I think Painter is really honest with guys where he says, man, I don't know how much time you're going to have on the court. We tried this year, didn't work out really well. And then I think Paint tries to help people get placed. I think he'll do that for Berg. I think he'll make calls. If Berg wants help to get into a program where he knows a coach, I think that'll happen. And I think Berg will be really, really good. I said this the other day, really good at a program that has, that doesn't have Big Ten centers. Big Ten centers are just beasts. They are. It's one of the toughest conferences in the nation for bigs. Full stop, right? So Waddell, I don't know where he's going to land. Like I said, I don't know if he, we'll see where he lands. So I hope he gets playing time. I mean, Waddell graduated. So T-Rex says athletic wings are pointless at Purdue under Painter. Sitting in the corner watching Smith and Lawyer and TKR isn't much to do for an athlete. It's true to a point. It's true to a point because we saw what happened in the Sweet 16 game, right? Cam had to create his own shot to a certain extent, and he was very important. He's very important. So if an athletic wing thinks all I'm supposed to do is attack the rim, right? Well, then he's probably not in the right place, because there's going to be a lot of traffic in the lane, always at Purdue. There just is, because you're going to have big, strong dudes down there, right? So Purdue doesn't run many motions just to clear out the middle, right? But Cam, I thought, was plugged in pretty well. A couple times, like when he was rebounding really well, and I think his best rebounding game, it was up against smaller guys, if I'm remembering correctly. It wasn't really like him banging on another four. So, and we can all go through Monday morning quarterback this to death, and we are already. The fact that I'm talking about it is killing it, right? Nita Bean Verse says, I appreciate your approach regarding the rumors. Unfortunately, we're in the dark until official word comes out. Just hoping we don't lose anyone else. Yeah, I think everybody's hoping that. There's lots of ways to look at this, and I want to really comment on this when the roster's finally set. April 22nd, I think the portal closes. So then we can boldly go forward with some confidence. I mean, I guess you don't, not necessarily though, right? I mean, Katchian's left in June or May. Tamaz J says, hey guys, is there any chance that Heidi actually comes back? Sure there is. Just wanted to test the waters. Yes, I think there is a chance he comes back. It all depends on how the last conversations went with Paint. I'm going to read this first before I read it aloud. Okay, no, this is good. Jack-O-Lantern 22, J Money, fooled me one time with a comment, and he baited me by putting a small comment and then trying to get me, because he knows that I can't do two things, read ahead and then, but this is a good comment, very good comment, and most of his are, for the record. But J Money says, the fans might be the only ones left in college sports who care about team success. Pretty simple and profound. And it's an interesting thing. Okay, I have a friend. Okay, there's a parallel here. I've done this a couple times recently. I hope I don't lose you when I do this. But I have a friend who worked for a big company. He designed product like me. And his product made the company a lot of money. And he got laid off because the company had an idea of what people in his level should be, meaning what demographic they should be. He got laid off. He didn't have a job for a year and a half, but he made the company a ton of money. At the end of the day, a company is supposed to make money. I think. At the end of the day, a team is supposed to win games. You play to win the game, to quote Herm Edwards, right? So maybe we're all wrong about this. I mean, goodness gracious. This is why, by the way, the tumult that comes with this stuff, the lack of system around the portal and NIL, the lack of structure, the lack of rules that make sense, the lack of punishment when someone tampers, when someone takes a guy. This is why some coaches that were, if not in their prime, they were pretty close. This is why they've quit. It's why they don't coach anymore, because those coaches say, to hell with this. I can't do this anymore. And you've seen some pretty darn capable coaches get out of it. That sucks. I said this the other day too. So not only coaches getting out of it, but also the way you develop your philosophy and how you play takes time and it takes work. And so as you have guys jumping around, right? Especially if you have, like many programs close to Purdue in the conference are designed on churning, right? Chewing guys up, spitting them out, bringing in people out of the portal. The majority, 8-9 players, are from the portal. And when you do that, the concepts have to get simpler, right? They have to. You cannot have a deep, thick playbook like Painter and PJ. Sometimes we saw this year, it did not look very thick. But it takes time to get that stuff down. There's no doubt about it. And so I think winning comes from developing, comes from some very complex things happening on offense. And yeah, it should matter. Let's see. Nate Dolan says, okay, Heidi, money, minutes, missing Minnesota. Yeah, you don't understand the move. Maybe some profit-only agent got into his ear. Who knows? Leaving this team with next year's potential leaves a lot of questions. So, Nate, you hit on your most profound point is the one that I've been talking about over and over. The weight of the agent in college sports right now is immense. And that, I didn't even talk about that. I didn't talk about it earlier when I talked about counsel. You have paid counsel right now. The agents are running the effing ship. They just are. Whether it's Oscar Clough or it's Cam Heidi, the agents are extremely important right now. And they're doing it in the shadows. We don't ever hear an agent quoted. It's not like the NBA when a big deal is signed, there's the agent out there, glad handing. Nobody likes the agent being out there because nobody cares about that guy from a fan standpoint, but boy, they're important, right? But what the agents are selling, all these kids, is something better. If you do this, life gets better. If you leave here, life gets better. More money, more opportunity, a new chance to thrive. We've heard that one. A chance to fit, right? But it's better over there. Okay? It's better over there. If you go on the other side of the fence, you're going to see how beautiful it is. The place that you live is a shithole. Their facilities, though, are awesome. And their coach is amazing. The girls are prettier. Just a fact. Just you should do it, right? Guess what happens? Dude gets a bigger cut. And what's happening with these agents right now, if you haven't read about this, agents in NCAA are getting like 20%. 20%. Not 10 or 7 like they are in the NBA, but a major chunk of this money. So, yeah, kids are getting played. All right, let's see. Luke says, I'm 34, and the college basketball landscape is starting to get really old. So he's playing to the idea that I said 40 and up. I can hear it. If we ever see a Purdue team like Illinois this year, I just don't think I would care. What does the Purdue on the uni mean at that point? Excellent question, Luke. You get into it's the old Seinfeld bit, Luke, and I don't know if you're a fan of old Seinfeld, but one episode, Jerry talked about that. Aren't we just rooting for laundry, if I'm remembering correctly? Because he'd just say, things change, right? Your favorite player leaves, right? That's pro sports. The whole thing with college is they're there for 4 years. They're there for 4 years like you were. They're getting a degree. You relate with them. You walked that same campus. You went to class. I know some of this is just me just pie in the sky, gold-colored glasses, naivete. I get it. But I did know some athletes at Purdue. I know it's been a long time since I was there. You can see it in my beard. And they were going to class. And I got along with them. And I related with them. And so now I hope that these guys that are on campus really want to be there. So, yeah, I'm there, Luke. Mopey says, my group chat of Purdue basketball fans, 29 to 30, says feels the same way as B. Dowd regarding the portal and Cam leading. Thank you, Mo. Thanks for sounding off both Luke and Mo. My son is on campus right now. He is significantly younger than me. He's a freshman. He's kind of an old soul of a guy. A couple of his friends are similar. And I don't want to just kind of paint with the broad brush that every kid that's in college thinks like my son. But I can tell you that he didn't see this coming. He's not real happy about it. He is, we'll see how everything develops. But yeah, I do think there's a generational difference, but it's good to hear that we're on the same page here as alums. Dan says the buzz of Clough commitment has died down with the Heidi announcement. It was more than dying down. It was a big, soggy, thick blanket on me. I'll be honest. I was like, ugh. And I got to keep my wits. The whole thing, what it did to me is it shook my confidence because I didn't think that guy was leaving. I was like, because everybody looks ahead and says, this guy might leave. This guy could leave. I just didn't think it was going to happen. The linear development, the linear increase of minutes, the linear importance growth of him, the fact that he's such a beast I said it to my son, tournament Cam is different, right? So all those things, it just happened. The brotherhood speech had just happened. Yeah, so. Ripset says, I think outside of the obvious portal issues, Purdue is in its time to win a natty. Completely agree. I think everyone in the program is putting some major dollars up to fill the weaknesses. Yeah, it feels like there's an urgency among Purdue fans. It feels like there's an urgency among the program, among the coaches. Like I keep saying, we're in the golden era. We are in the good old days. And if you're 30, I hope you understand that. If you're 19, I hope you understand that. If you're 50, 49, I don't want to give away age, or give away years, months, whatever. I turned 50 in August. You can just send me home field apparel, that classic sweater for my birthday. But yeah, yeah, it feels like it's time. It feels like it's time. And it feels like, I mean, a couple of years ago, I told you my perspective changed because the way the coaches were handling it, because what I saw with my own two eyes. Everything changed for me last year, though. And so Purdue needs to strike while the iron's hot. So a lot of things can go against you, but it's a good time for Purdue to try to put this damn thing to bed. Hosehead says, don't sleep on Benter. Just wait. Yeah, I'm not. I'm a Benter guy. And I've been talking about him since I saw him rip the freaking rim off a glass. I'm like, that's not normal stuff. He's not just Fletch Lawyer. I talked about this the other day. I'm not sleeping on him. Dawson White says, Heidi to Minnesota would make this worse. Would it? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a scenario where it wouldn't. And I do mean this. When a guy transfers, I can tell you what my wish is that Purdue would go through them toward their march to national title. And I know this is like dream scenario, but for Purdue to beat Minnesota twice with Heidi on the roster, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? I mean, that's what I'd want to see. Like I said, that's not wishing a guy ill. That's just saying, when you play Purdue, I want you to remember where you were. And I want you to remember that these guys are pretty damn good. And this system's pretty good. And this team's pretty good. And they would have been better with you, but you made your choice. So, Greg McManus says, Craig Bowers has said Benter in the summer workouts before last season was really impressive. Benter is really impressive. So this is good. I think we can get worked up into a froth about Benter. I think that's okay. I think his brother comes on here every now and again, which is awesome. Need to be in verse says, I want players to get their share of the revenue. Agreed. But without regulating the current landscape, players miss out on developing habits of loyalty, perseverance in their key developmental years. Yeah. There's lots that go into that. Andrew, you and I both know that. And you want to see guys leave Purdue, leave wherever. It's not just Purdue. You want to see them leave college and be really good members of society. I mean, I just saw this on Golden Black on Knucklehead that an ex-Purdue player, and I really don't want to mention his name because it's horrible, but an ex-Purdue power forward who I think transferred out after his junior year, got busted in 2016, had a bunch of money and drugs confiscated. This stuff that it breaks your heart. Like it makes you angry, right? But you're just sad because you're like, man, that guy had the world in his hand and didn't do much with it. But you want to see these guys succeed in life. Basketball's secondary, right? I mean that. So that's when if you say you want to wish somebody well, it's for the bigger picture, the much bigger picture. So if he goes and he finds his wife, I'm not kidding about this, goes to a place, finds his wife, changes the trajectory of his life, everything works out, and he becomes a great dad, and he met her wherever he goes. Awesome. That's his story, and he can talk about that. Good. But on basketball court, I hope he loses to Purdue. So we can have both of these things. Tomas J says, has Josh Dix committed yet? I don't believe so. I see that he's a really good fit at the 3. Yeah, he would be really good at Purdue, but I don't think he's even talking to Purdue, and I don't know why. So he is not committed. And there's a lot of reasons to want Dix on the Purdue team. Gosh darn it, came out completely wrong. That joke, I was trying to make a joke, and that came out. I'm a 5-year-old. Brian T says, I have to say each day, I'm now sheepishly checking Purdue portal news. This is after pre-purchasing Final Four tickets next year. Thank you for being one of the people that did that. I appreciate that you went on and got Final Four tickets. But yeah, the thing that kills me is like, if I'm not on Twitter all the time now, because, I work in the morning, getting something done, I get texts and people are like, you hear the news? Oh, come on, don't do that to me. Don't hear the news. Or it'd just be one name. Heidi? Question mark. Dang. Great. Yeah. I want to get to April 22nd, 23rd. Let's see. Brian T says, have to say that each day I'm now sheep. Okay. Let's move back. Mo P says, surprised Cam and Miles left this year and not last year. I was really surprised Colvin made it to this year. Like I said the other day, he took his lumps freshman year. He really did. And I can understand why anybody would have said, yeah, clearly there's no spot for me. Because remember, there were droughts. He didn't play games. He didn't play in games. We didn't really see that this year from either of them. But yeah, I agree. Skip down a little bit. Ancient Atomic Immortality says, Immortality says, I'm glad they're gone. If they don't want to be in West Lafayette, they both completely underachieved this season. Guys like Cox overtook. I'm not there yet. I understand it. I understand putting a line in the sand a little bit and saying things like that. But I'm with my wife. This one hurt my feelings. If I'm being real honest, it just made me sad. And so then how I mourn, I go from sad quickly to really angry. And then hopefully that fizzles pretty quickly. And that's why I didn't want to come on to, didn't want to come here and start talking. So I hopefully I've cooled off enough to not say anything completely regrettable, but let's see. He continues, says, neither one does much off the dribble. He didn't say that exactly, but that's true. Michael B says, I would be shocked if anyone else left at this point. We just don't know. I mean, I don't even understand. There's so much tampering. These poor kids. Like, I think about some things that I struggled with as a kid, right? And I'm not going to get too deep into this. Just things that, from a faith standpoint, you know, I think kids now have to deal with a lot more things. You know, there's stuff in their face that we never had to deal with. I mean, that's hard. That's really, really difficult. But if a kid says he wants to stay and he loves being there and whatever, then he has some jackass get him on the phone who promises him riches and gold and women. I mean, my gosh. First off, I hope all of them have somebody they can call and say, hey, does this sound legit? Do you think I could get paid $1 bazillion? Supposedly, these guys get let down pretty quickly where there'll be a promise on the other end, and then they'll find out the promise wasn't true. And sometimes they find out when they're already on campus. Sometimes they, like Nigel Pack found out, I think that he was involved in that scandal where they didn't have all the money lined up or all the terms of his NIL deal. But you kind of hope that once they've made that, I don't want to see those kids have to go through that. That's horrible. And again, people make promises that are unethical, and it's a shame. Shame that they're in the crossfire and they're just the grass getting crushed by the elephants, as they say. So Jack Pridemore says, is there any chance one of them comes back? Like I said before, I think there is a chance. Sure, there's a chance. I just don't think it's likely. And I think it all depends on how the last conversation and the information went back and forth between them and Painter and them and their positional coaches or whoever, right? If you work with PJ or if you work with Brantley, Coach Brantley, I think all that matters. Were they on the up and up? Did they treat the coaches with the respect the coaches treat them with? Did they feel like they were treated with respect? All big questions. So let's see. Yeah, Andy Buck says cheering for the clothes. Yeah, cheering for laundry. Yay. Nothing like it. Nita Beanverse says, agreed, well Dowd had chances to work on group projects with Robbie Hummel at Cranert. That's cool. Guy was bought in 100% at Purdue. That stuff matters to me. So here's one of the things that shakes me. A guy like Hummel, I love Hummel. Hummel is like one of the great ambassadors of Purdue. He's right up there with Breeze to me, okay? And I just missed Breeze on campus because I graduated in 97. Breeze came on campus in 97. But I start getting shaken up about something stupid like, okay, if this player in that era would have had the same exit ability to jump ship, would he have stayed? I think Hummel would have stayed. I don't think everybody that I consider a Purdue hero would have stayed. When I say the word hero, it doesn't mean I want to be just like them, because that'd be a little silly since I've got a bad back and bad knees. But I hope you get my drift. So, yeah, that's awesome to hear. I had a class with Michael Hawthorne, the cornerback at Purdue. I mean, he's 6'4", I'm 5'4". He was a freshman. I was a senior. It was an elective. And he liked Purdue a lot, but he told me, and I've actually talked to him recently, but he told me he was going to go pro the moment he could, because he knew he had a path. He was a beast in high school out of Bradenton, Florida. But he knew he was going to go pro right away. And I just kind of laughed because I was like, dude, I mean, that's a hard path, especially back then. To go pro early in college football in 1996, 97, really, really difficult. But he was assured he was going to. So he ended up graduating from Purdue, though. And he loves Purdue. And I talked to him as an adult. And he's also a pretty damn good ambassador for Purdue. But he was not bought in. He was ready. He had a trajectory he wanted to get to the pros. So different path for everybody. Steve Michael says, dude, let's see. Who are not good? Getting 600K, 2 years would be. Who are not that good? Oh, yeah. Okay, I get what you're saying. Sorry, I see what you're saying. Dudes that are not that good are getting $600,000. In 2 years, that's $1.2 million. Let that sink in for a player who won't make the NBA. Yeah, the money is bizarre. And it's really, when we say things not sustainable, this is one of them that's really not sustainable, because everybody wants an ROI, right? Everyone wants a return on investment. And so if a very rich guy gives a ton of money to make sure to leverage guys to come or stay at their school, right? And then all they get out of it is a 22 win season and a loss in the round of 32. That rich guy pretty quickly is going to get pissed. And he took a little bit of a gamble. It's all for his entertainment. It didn't work out. So you have to have everybody win championships all the time if they're going to fund this stuff, right? So, yeah, we'll see what happens in June, how it changes the structure of things. You can still, it's hilarious though. There's already talk, Jay Money sent an article that the major conferences, the power conferences are starting to break away from the NCAA to try to create structure around the NIL and around the portal. And you can already read the comments. It's hilarious. People from Tennessee, Michigan, Ohio State, what was the other school? Kentucky. I read real quickly. They were all for being the best for the kids. It was all about the kids, doing the right thing by these kids. When really, it really was about, let us do whatever the hell we want to do. We're going to buy players. We don't give a shit about the kid. It's really about buying them, using them, spitting them out, getting what we can out of them. If there was an agent that would spit that at a kid and say, this is what it's about. This is what they're trying to do. So make sure you're guarding yourself and you are being your best advocate, because a lot of schools don't care about you as an individual. The perception is that there are some schools out there that do care about the kids, do care about the individual, do care that they do well after basketball, but that's for them to decide. Olivia S. says, I was sad about Gillis leaving, but respected his dream of playing at Duke. And he got a degree, right? He had been here for 4 years already. COVID year gave him an extra. But okay, I'll continue. We had him for 4 years. Heidi leaving just hits different. Agree. And both, Olivia, I don't know if you're one of these people, but you might be like my wife. Gillis, super handsome dude. Heidi, super handsome dude. My wife would tell me about this. And so I tried to do my hair like both of them at different times, and I failed. But she continues. I really thought he could make a difference for us next year. Agreed. Agreed. So I can't see. I really can't see I think Olivia's a woman, but it's I like both those guys, and they are different situations. Somebody getting a degree matters. Somebody playing for 4 years matters. There are levels of this, I think, and there's levels of surprise for different reasons. I don't like bad surprises. I love good surprises. Tamaz J says, would Heidi get cheered for at Mackey coming back? That's every individual's decision to make when it happens. So it's good. Greg Manis says, Dixon Cox on the same roster. This is something to think about. Very interesting possible scenario. Matt Keller says, I believe Painter will get someone that will fill the role of what Heidi and Colvin could give. Tons of transfers out there. I believe in Painter and the staff, and I do too. Who did I talk to? I talked to somebody via DM, I believe. I had kind of a frank conversation about what's the hashtag? I'm a trust paint, right? And the person said, it's kind of hard to believe that right now because it feels like his system, I may be paraphrasing a bit, feels like his system has been shaken up. And it has been shaken up. His ideal has been shaken up. How he wants to develop a program has been shaken up, no doubt. Because now you're down 4 guys that were on the roster, had eligibility left. So do you trust Paint still? I do. I don't think he did anything wrong in these cases. He coached the way he coached. He did not. I cannot believe people with a straight face will say or type, well, Paint should have clearly just changed the system to keep Colvin happy, keep Heidi happy. What? Are you kidding me when you say things like that? This system works really well. Purdue wins a lot of games. Purdue gets a lot of guys featured. Purdue gets a lot of guys publicity where they can go and do big things after. Even if a guy doesn't make it to the NBA, which I've said it before, the NBA is broken as hell, in my opinion. But there are a lot of guys, Travion Williams and Carson Edwards come to mind right away, that are making really good money in, Germany and Israel right now. Doing really, really well, playing really well. And they were given a good stage to showcase what they can do, right? Is Purdue's system perfect for everybody? No. Should Paint switch the system? No. Are you kidding me? You switch the system for one guy? No. No, you say, how do we get this to fit with you? How do we work you into the system? What can we do, right? When whoever transfers goes to another place, nobody is going to say, we're going to switch it up for you. We're really going to, I mean, Painter will use the talent, right? What he's got. Painter's offenses have been high paced. They've been very slow. But they've blown away some narratives, but some still exist. But I don't think you patronize a kid that way. So that's just me. Let's see. Joe Inslee says, Jerry Dilley says NIL is ruining college sports. Agreed. Joe Inslee, it's a combination of, it's really not NIL and it's really not the portal. It's the fact there is no system. There is no system. It's an unsystem. It's unrules. There's nothing. It's the Wild West. The promises of riches and gold are across those mountains. Just go get them, right? That's what the portal is. Just get to San Francisco. You're going to be rich. Well, guess what? Along the way, you may lose your family to dysentery. If you played Oregon Trail, you know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Gillis and Morton wanted to return to Purdue, made the decision before senior year. So Gillis and Morton talked to Painter. This is documented before their senior years. What do you guys want to do? They said, I think this is going to be it for me this year. So the Final Four year was it for them. And so at the end of the year, so Payne went and got 6 guys, freshmen, signed them. There's no more scholars left. Sorry, guys. And he couldn't go back on it. He's not going to throw a freshman out. Everybody's adults here. You know, those guys are all old. They said, okay, go find a place. And I think Purdue would have loved to have had one, if not both of those guys. But yeah, that's an interesting thing. Adam Hutchinson says, might be in the minority here, but I don't think we backfilled Heidi and Colvin like some think. I think Painter is going to wait a long time before we add a guy. Yeah, there's just rumors right now. A lot of people said they must have somebody coming in, and that's why they left. I don't think that's it. I don't think that's the case. I think Purdue has had people in to talk about possibly coming, but there's nothing that's happened yet. I'd love to get off here and find out a guy who just loves Purdue, who's got 2 years eligibility left, who can come and be part of the program, who's really, really good and productive, has made the decision to come to Purdue, and it all happened while we were talking about this. He made final, but I don't think any of the thing of the sort has happened. So Adam Hutchins says Heidi's agent looks sketchy. I don't even know who Heidi's agent is, and I don't want to know. I don't care. So I believe you, though. Chris Felt says, odd question, but does any Purdue basketball transfer that's left found... this is a good question. I see what you're saying. Does any Purdue basketball transfer that has left find awesome success elsewhere other than Mason with a lesser degree Ethan? Okay, so... Mason, the team has been awesome at Duke, right? But his minutes have gone down throughout the season. I think he was averaging 13 or 14 minutes a game. So they kind of crossed. Ethan's minutes went up and his production went up towards the end of the season. But Ethan was similar to what he was at Purdue. He was still a distributor. He's a do the little things guy. He was a gritty person who would go get the 50-50 balls. He would play in different positions defensively. Ethan Morton is Ethan Morton, but he got the chance to play against lower competition, and that got to showcase some of the things he couldn't showcase if he was across from, let's use Maryland or Rutgers, who have just incredibly athletic guards. Morton struggled against those guys, right? But he got to go and succeed. That's good. That's a good thing. Gillis wanted to go. I think he wanted to go win a national championship and maybe get a master's from Duke. That's good. That's good. More power to him. The guys that you think of, Kendall Stevens is a guy that had a pretty nice run at Nevada. Again, lower competition, but he was on a great team. Is it Nevada? I believe it was Nevada with the Twins. I think they both made it to the league. I think Stevens made it to Europe. Pretty good move. Okay. Another one, Aaron Wheeler. Aaron Wheeler left Purdue and he was struggling from 3. If you remember, he shot nearly 40% his freshman year when he had, it was Boogie. Nearly 40%. And he was the advantage he had was you had Klein and Boogie that would draw off good defenders and he would get space. But when he became featured, when he became a 6-man and starter, all of a sudden it was a lot harder to shoot. He struggled from 3. His points went down. His production went down. He was a guy that all of his teammates loved. I would see him at Purdue football games in unusual times after he had transferred. Goes to St. John's, averages 10 points a game. Pretty good. 10.8, I think, is what he did. I just looked at this. So, yeah, Wheeler did better at St. John's, but the team was bad, I think. Maybe they made the NCAA tournament. It's that question is, there's no great, Brandon Newman. There's a guy that I really like. Brandon Newman, you look at his numbers, incredibly steady, except when he was at Western Kentucky, they went up for one season, and now he's at Oklahoma State. He looked a lot like Brandon Newman at Purdue when I watched him. And I tried to watch him because you had both the coach and a player that were Purdue guys, Purdue connection. I love Brandon Newman. Love the guy. When I think of that, there are guys you go deeper back that transferred out that did pretty well, you know. But I can't think of one that has just been like, wow, Purdue missed it. And this is a bigger point. I wanted to say this. Painter's pretty good at finding talent and utilizing talent. That's the other thing. I think it's a fact. He doesn't let guys kind of slip through the cracks that turn out to be awesome. The only one I would say, if you want to say someone was underutilized, I would say Travion Williams was a bit underutilized. But the reason he was underutilized was that you had freshman Zach Edey, who was developing into Superman, and Paint and Brantley knew it. So that's the caveat. But Travion Williams is an incredible teammate. He moved out of the starting lineup after starting for 2 years. So he didn't transfer. Let's see. I'm gonna switch down here because I'm almost an hour. Todd Schleister says, I think this is the last year of unregulated NIL and no contracts, so agents are pushing to get the money before the new rules. So combined, we're looking to improve on 10 points, 6 boards with Benner and Burgess. Yeah, so that's a fair way. It's a kind of a black and white way of looking at it. Purdue needs to get 10 points and 6 boards from somebody. Maybe it's Benner and Burgess. Maybe it's West. Maybe it's Clough. Well, you got to put first into this calculation too. And are agents trying to do a cash grab? Yeah, hell yeah, they are. But agents are always trying to do a cash grab. Some of them just got to the party. If you've heard some of the stories, people are realizing, oh my gosh, there's huge money to make in college. I'm going to go there. So these firms are moving their talent towards college. And those guys they get paid a lot for a reason. They sell dreams. And many of them turn out to be nightmares. Moose 1410 says, what do you think of Jonathan Pierre from Belmont? I don't know if Purdue has contacted him, but I'd take him for the next year. I think he's a good player. Do I think Purdue or Painter have contacted him? No, I don't. I haven't heard any whispers. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, he'd be a guy that I'd like to have Purdue. So there's a lot of guys like that you're like, yeah, he's good. He's good. There's a lot of good players out there that entered the portal that might be a good fit. I just hope Purdue gets the right guy. So, right guys, whoever. David Dillman says, Painter tried switching the system once to chase talent. We don't speak of those years. This is a very good point, David. Very good point. That was dark. It was a dark age, and Paint regrets it. Not only did he switch the system up, but he also switched up his philosophy for a bit and chased stars, meaning ranking stars. And it went very poorly. Worst part of Painter's career at Purdue. So, yeah, you learn lessons. We all do as we're growing up. And I would say, I'd hope we're all learning still. Greg Manis says, didn't Wheeler go to Pre-Patino St. John's? Yes, he did. I'm almost positive of that. Yeah. Boiler Bugle, different angle instead of saying the Angels. Greedy admins and coaches ruin college sports. So I have a long debate going with a couple of my friends about this idea. Who ruined college sports? It's not that broad of a brush. And I would say, I'll challenge you on this, because do you think the admins, and I use these examples in my discussion, the admins at Miami of Ohio or Ball State, okay, and the admins at Montana and the coaches are just as guilty as the admins at Ohio State? You see my point? If you look at the amounts of money that those admins, coaches are getting paid, and the money that's flowing through the systems at Ohio State and Tennessee and Kentucky, places that have infrastructure, right? Very different ball game from Montana, where they don't. Montana's a nice football stadium, but Montana runs a tight budget. Ball State runs a tight budget, and they are still Division I programs. So the whole thing is to say that all admins and coaches, and I don't think that's what you're saying, ruined all of college sports. I don't think that's true. I think what the misstep, and we can say, good, players are getting a piece of the pie. Good, we can say that. And then we can also say, this system sucks. In spite of players getting a piece of the pie, the system is horrible because there is no system. There are no rules and regulations with teeth. I keep saying tampering is on the books as a rule. I keep saying it. I'm a broken record here. And there is no punishment for tampering. None. In the NBA, and this people always talk, oh, look at the NBA. Those guys come and go, they got money. Okay. In the NBA, there are real rules and real punishment for breaking rules, right? You can get fined $1 million for breaking a tampering rule in the offseason, right? Colluding. So it's all needed. Can the NCAA do it? I don't think so. I think the NCAA sucks. I've said this for years. But the NCAA, their biggest problem is they're never proactive. It's always reacting. And they don't think that this thing's coming. Everybody thought this was coming. In some way, I can tell you this is much worse than I thought it would be. That's the thing that's really bad. And the fact that we've got 30-year-olds above here saying, and if it goes here, I'm not going to be around much longer. And you have a 49-year-old saying the same thing. You have a 19-year-old saying the same thing. All these are diehards. We're all saying the same thing. It's broken. So, Dylan here. Dylan says, the BS helmet, front and center, RIP Prepared to Builder. Yeah, that was one of the best. So, Dylan made this helmet for me, in case you didn't know. So, yeah. Shout out to Dylan. DK. Tom Headington, good to talk to you last night too. Tom Headington says, Oregon Trail reference. Well done. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Look, Adam's here. My buddy from AJ's, your pal, my pal, Adam says, hello, midday. Go get some lunch. If you're near campus, go to AJ's and grab a damn sandwich. My gosh, what do you have to do? I mean, it's right there. If you're near West Lafayette, you do it. Let's see, anybody else here that I haven't? Yeah, Dan says Wheeler was an A-plus teammate. Everybody liked Wheeler. Everybody liked Wheels. Yeah, there's a lot of guys like that. It makes me feel bad for him that things didn't go quite that well, but things didn't pretty well. Jack-o'-lantern says, he says something about it. He's talking like a niche. Oh yeah, I'm not going to read that because out of context that could, I'm not going to read that for Greg and Jay's sake. So Concrete Guy, who I've not read a comment from, says, who's Paint going after? Does anyone have a clue? I talked about this. I'm not going to even address it. So there are rumors out there though. You don't have to dig very far to find them. Just look around a little bit. You'll find them. Dan says, I'm 35. Next year might be the last year I follow college basketball after TKR Fletch and Braden graduate. I get it. I don't think people understand the damage that has been done on this sport yet. From a fan standpoint, from a lifestyle standpoint. It's when people stop having the habit of saying, yep, I get season tickets. So there's 500, 700, however many hundreds of dollars you spend on season tickets. I get season tickets. You know what? I go to 2 games a year. I make sure I take my kids. We go back to Purdue to see a game, and we stop at AJ's and get something to eat and drink. We love going there. But then all of a sudden you say, you know what? I don't want to go back to a game. I'm just going to go to AJ's. That's what they'll do. They may not go to a game. They're just going to go to AJ's and watch some IndyCar. That's what I might do this summer. So, but when people start changing their habits, people start changing the perspective, it's too late. It's over. So, bend over is correct. That is one of the rumors I've heard. So if you're on, you can see that. There you go. That's one of the rumors I've heard. So that's about it. Thanks to everybody. We're at an hour. Holy crap. This is not a quick guest. I didn't label it a quick guest because I knew it was going to be long. The discussion was going to be lively. I appreciate everyone being here. God bless you. Hammer down. Talk to you soon. Hopefully with good news the next time. We'll see you.